Hi everyone. This has been my lockdown resolution that I'll come up with a kind of uh, a curated news channel. The news is not exclusive to me. It's available freely on the internet. It's just that the news that I like and things that interest me share with you in a nutshell. Yeah. Hope you'll like it. So uh, Today, the in the politics segment, I see there is a lot of brouhaha regarding Pegasus spyware. So I thought let's do some research on that. And yes, in there have been substantial allegations in and available everywhere, stating that Pegasus has been used by governments across the world and whatnot. I looked up a little bit of history of Pegasus. It's the spyware that inflicts the phone, and it's Pegasus, the spyware software, is made by the Israeli group NSO. So this NSO group states that, I mean, this has been a research from Reuters, okay, and it dates back to 2017, if I'm not wrong. Uh, and it's available on Reuters.com website, and the heading is exclusive. FBI probes use of Israeli firm spyware in personal and government hacks sources. And while I read through it, there are a lot of good information. So it says that the FBI conducted more interviews with technology industry experts, and after Facebook filed a lawsuit in October accusing NSO itself of exploiting a flaw in Facebook's WhatsApp messaging service to hack 1,400 users, according to two people who spoke with the agents or Justice Department officials. So this is the U.S. Acting upon a complaint filed by Facebook, spywaring allegations of spywaring WhatsApp. That's what's been talked about. So NSO then responded, said it was not aware of any inquiry, but however, NSO says that we have not been contacted by any US law enforcement at all about any such matters. NSO said in a statement provided by Mercury Public Affairs strategy firm. NSO did not answer additional questions about its employees' conduct, but previously said government customers are the ones who do the hacking. So it's pretty interesting. You know, so NSO, again, it says, is known in the cybersecurity world for its Pegasus software, other tools that can be delivered in several ways. Um, so, uh, so it's just that it's not new. It says the probe was underway by 2017 when Federal Bureau of Investigation officials were trying to learn whether NSO obtained from American hackers any of the code it needed to infect smartphones, said one person interviewed by the FBI then and again last year. So the last part of this conversation is again to be noted. NSO said it sells its spyware software and technical support exclusively to governments, and that those tools are to be used in pursuing suspected terrorists and other criminals. NSO has long maintained that its products cannot target US phone numbers, though some cybersecurity experts have disputed that. So, uh, it says that it's essentially sells its spyware solution to the its customer clients across the globe, and it's used by the governments. And it's not only meant for high profile, like hacking, spying on the terrorists and criminals, but it doesn't have. It says that it doesn't have the technology to hack U.S. general consumers or customers. So that's what it mentions in Reuters. Okay. So moving on to business segment, I see there's an interesting article by fastcompany.com, and it essentially suggests that how to spot the warning signs of an insane leader. Interesting. Many of us must have throughout our career must have must be recognizing a very bad relationship with their managers, their bosses. So it's very relevant. So sometimes we call it toxic culture, and this is regarding that precisely, and it's current. So how to spot the warning signs of an insecure leader, and the toxic culture comes from some kind of an insecurity from the person who propagates and practices that. So it says insecure leader and how to work with one. So I'm not going to read out the whole thing because I already told you the source is fastcompany.com. It's FAST company.com. So you can look it up. The main portions are 65% of the employees in America say they would rather change their boss than have a pay rise. Wow. Um, 65% of employees say they'll change their boss than have a pay raise. 75% of people, according to this survey, quit their jobs because of their direct line manager, which might not surprise you because we often say that employees work for and with their managers and peers and colleagues than the abstract entity called company. You know what I mean? So it really matters how the internal behavior or the culture shapes a particular team, and how the client how essentially the employees or the workers feel within the team, how safe they are, how satisfied they are. We always talk about customer satisfaction, raising it, customer's voice of customer, something like that. But we'll have to also understand, in more so in service industry, the labor intensive industries, that our internal employees also are customer to the, in some sense, customer to the managers, because they have to run the business, and the experience of the employees matter, and also customer to the HR department. um, 75% people quit their jobs because of their direct line managers. No surprise there, I guess. Making bad leadership the number one cause of voluntary turnover in the world. This is the single most major cause of voluntary turnover. Okay. So then there are another, in the same study, there is something called like people quit bosses, not jobs. It says the toxic supervisors have a bigger impact on turnover than salary. So salary is also a factor, but it's lower than the toxic environment and the toxic relationship with the boss. Fewer than 20% of boards are confident. So boards, meaning the management boards, the executive boards in a company, fewer than 20% of the boards are confident that their organizations have a grip on their leadership problems. Sometimes they do not have visibility. Sometimes, even if they have visibility, partial visibility, the actions taken are too broad or too specific. It doesn't realize, or maybe too piecemeal in order to create checks and balances, to identify if some kind of such kind of repetitive behavior is go unnoticed, and to resist this kind of behavior in the first place. And if it still happens, how to kind of discourage, not punish, that's a harsh word, but how to discourage that kind of repetitive behavior or a behavioral pattern which encourages toxic relationship between the employees and the managers, whatnot. Then it talks about a broader aspect. Even in democratic countries, approval ratings for leaders rarely surpass 50%. So there are uh, differences between the work culture in democracies versus non-democracies. It says even in democratic countries, leaders rarely surpass 50%. For example, the average approval rating for heads of state in the EU hovers around 40%. So, approval ratings for leaders, that means political leaders. Sorry if I misinterpreted that thing. Um, And then it goes on to show that how we also are, I would not say also to blame, but we also probably, though sometimes we are victims or on the receiving end, we also sometimes unknowingly or subliminally encourage that kind of behavior by our cultural backlogs or by our probably the pattern of behaviors that we have learned from early on. So that means it also goes on to say that how overconfident leaders, you know, how arrogant. It goes on to say use the word arrogant. So how arrogant or overconfident leaders are praised, and encouraged to grow. That kind of behavior has its appeal to the masses. So that's also something to be interest people who have experienced that can take a step back and introspect as a how those leaders came to be leaders in the first place. They were encouraged at a certain level, certain point. They have that repetitive behavior, but that behavior, not only got unnoticed or not discouraged, those patterns of behaviors got encouraged to some extent, and they got some sort of adulation or promotion of their behavior, kind of pattern of their the way they interact with people. So they came up to be a leader. So we also, as a general um, crowd, we should be aware of the fact that we also passively, if not actively, encourage and praise this kind of overconfident, toxic behavior, and we overlook the other end of the spectrum, who are considerate, who are understanding, who are more benign, who are more behaviorally soothing, collaborating, those kind of, probably, if I may use the term, non so much as non aggressive leaders, or we will just probably overlook those qualities in those kind of leaders. So yeah, this brings us to the end of the segment of business, and then um, in science, there's an interesting one by scitechdaily.com. That's scitechdaily.com. It says the scientists have created the first genetically engineered marsupial. Uh, Never heard of that mammal, so it's a small one. You can research Google for it, but then it says that what it did essentially is this one is the breakthrough um, that happened. Researchers at the Riken Center of Biosystems Dynamics Research, which is called BDR, have succeeded in creating the first genetically engineered mammal. This study, published in the scientific journal Current Biology, will contribute to deciphering the genetic background of unique characteristics observed only in them. Um, so, uh, So how what they did was they targeted a particular characteristic of these mammals, which is spelled as marsupials, marsupials probably. Um, uh, they come with something like kind of a pattern in their skin, yellow and gray kind of pattern in the skin, but that particular pattern on the skin is caused by a genetic formation, and they essentially targeted that gene responsible for that skin pattern, and they were able to produce the offsprings of that mammal with no patterns on the skin. So either they were pink, they were it shows in the picture gray and like that, but there were no patterns um, on their skins. So yeah, that interesting topic, because I thought it gets me to thinking, the philosophical part of it, the outreach. I don't want to sound alarmist, but it really makes it a point to consider. Though I love science, love these kind of breakthroughs, but Well, when you look 100 years from now, probably perhaps it'll be so normalized. There'll be corporations again. Again, I'm no against corporations. They've been pivotal also. Though they were against and favor, but I don't want to take a position here. But then they have been pivotal in research and development also. But then, 100 years from now, corporations might have, might get to a point that they patent their specific kind of embryos, and then they say these embryos that we sell are such that the babies, the human babies born out of that embryo would be good in athletics, good in maybe any physical activity, and then there will be embryos who are good in mathematics, good in the literature, philosophy, or something like that, and then something like that. And then when not only there, and then there'll be only again a new kind of divide between haves and have-nots. So those who can afford to have that kind of designed baby will perhaps gain those. And there is no guarantee though. The good athletic gene would become obviously a good athlete. So they again will have to compete with the all the other athletic gene people. So I don't know. It's interesting, but though at this point, whatever we know, it doesn't guarantee athletic gene person, a baby born with that gene would be eventually a good athlete. But there are other factors to it. But then the same kind of a certain kind of haves and have not divide there, and it's going to be new thing interesting. Then when these kids grow up and be policymakers, how will they influence the policies? They would obviously think the engineering, genetically modified human beings are the real and the human beings of the future. There should not be, perhaps, I don't know, there should not be any human beings who are imperfect like it used to happen 100 years back now. So they probably every human kid, they would socialize the matter in such a way that probably every human beings who are born would essentially be one way or the other genetically engineered. So we are going to have a fashion parade of human genomes. You know, good stuff. Scary though sometimes. Okay, so there was again talking about a lake on a Saturn's moon. Titan is more than a sea of monsters, so it's like a huge. Talks about it. I think you already know about it. And then interesting part is that I looked up again. It's chess.com, chess.com, and it talks about which countries have the most grandmasters in chess, and it says Russia being the first one with 240 till date. Currently, not till date, I'm sorry, currently 240 grandmasters. US, the second best. I didn't know that. Okay. 96. And then Germany, 95. Then Ukraine, 87. Wow. India, 67. Proud. Spain 57, Hungary 53, then comes Serbia 52. Didn't know that Serbia was good in chess. And then France 51, China 48, interesting, Poland 48, Israel 44, Armenia 39. Wow, that was new. Netherlands 39 and England 36. So that was the interesting piece of information also because I only knew about some about chess in Russia and India, and then also in Slovak countries like Yugoslavia and those Eastern European countries. But I didn't know about that. US also has a sizable number of grandmasters, which is cool. Okay, and um, I hope you kind of like it. I will try and make it shorter going forward, and please feel free to give your suggestions. I know the picture quality and probably the whole presentation needs a lot of improvement, and I would work towards doing that. Let's see, it'll make it as regular as possible, but at least weekly. Thanks for watching. Have a great one.